Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. John, a London-based online magazine called the Global Mining Observer published an article on Sunday with the headline, Zinc Discovery Looks Like Bre-X. We all know what happened with Bre-X. The article is about the Hermosa Taylor project of Arizona Mining Inc., which is up over 900% since you first recommended it at the start of the year. You've described Hermosa Taylor as a world-class zinc, lead, silver discovery, and it's a Discovery Watch project. Bay Street just put $36 million into the treasury through a bought deal at $3.05. Bay Street put a lot of money into Bre-X more than 2 decades ago. Is history repeating itself?
Fortunately, in this case, history is not repeating itself. The Global Mining Observer article is a new type of trash journalism which conflates a blatant lie with a complex issue. The complex issue brought up by the article has to do with smelter penalties and the willingness of smelters to take concentrates, typically for base metals such as lead concentrates, zinc concentrates. There is something called a deleterious element, which is if there's something like arsenic or mercury or whatever, a toxic poison in the concentrate, the smelters have to deal with it as an emission control issue. And then there's other elements which aren't really an emission problem, but they are an operational problem. They have some sort of chemical impact on the functioning of the smelter. Manganese is one of these elements which, if it is too high, it will cause problems within the operation of the smelter. If it is above a certain level, the smelters won't even touch it. This article brought up that the zinc concentrate, which is $1,100 rock, has a 1.3% manganese level in it. And the technical report had said, well, there are no deleterious elements. That turned out to be incorrect because at that level there is a penalty for putting for the smelters to handle that concentrate. But what was really strange about this article was that it quoted a number of anonymous so-called investment bankers or analysts, all of them muttering that this is a showstopper, this project is won't fly because there will be no smelter in the world that will take the concentrate. And if you can't get paid out for your concentrate, then you do not have a mine. And this project had a valuation of about $900 million to $1 billion when Bay Street gave it an additional $36 million to continue drilling off what is a world-class discovery. Now, what was very strange about this article is it called it a fraud like Bre-X. And Bre-X was a deliberate salting of the core bags to create the false impression that there was a substantial gold deposit at Busang in Indonesia. And then there's another type of fraud which was done by the CEO of Southwestern Gold with the Boca project in China, where the assays were correct, but he simply entered much better numbers into his software that modeled the deposit and resulted in a resource estimate that was completely fictitious. So for an article to raise a legitimate question as to whether or not there is a metallurgical issue with a major new discovery, and then call it an outright fraud, it was completely bizarre. It also showed that the writer was incompetent, did not really understand the mining industry, and was possibly even set up by parties who wanted to trigger some sort of flash crash Monday morning when news hit the street that this thing is not real. It is a fraud.
The stock dropped 55 cents from Friday's closing price of $3.31 to a low of $2.76, where $151 million was wiped from the nearly $1 billion market cap of the company. That makes the writer very effective, though the credibility of the Global Mining Observer is shot. Was this a case of gross negligence or a deliberate hatchet job?
Well, the company or this online magazine, which seems to be some sort of blogging entity with a small group of writers, retracted the article last night after various parties pointed out that while there is a potential issue with the manganese, this is clearly not a fraud. It is libelous. It makes you look stupid. Now the question is, was this writer simply incompetent, or was he part of a deliberate hatchet job? Now, writers don't come up with stupid stories on their own. They usually are fed such stories and goaded to run with it. In this case, some people have said, well, maybe this writer was fed this story from disgruntled Bay Street bankers and analysts who missed the boat on Arizona mining. And clearly, that they always miss the boat. Until the thing is trending way up, the Bay Street analysts and investment bankers, they can't see it for its potential. However, that these people would whisper stuff to some writer, some obscure writer, and try and set up a major attack such as happened on Sunday, it doesn't make a lot of sense. More likely, we have this ambush set up by short sellers who were already short this position and we're trying to get it to develop a downtrend, or we're hoping even to in the morning when the stock starts to plunge, you can sell on a downtick these days, short, hoping to catch the little flash crash and make a small score at the by the end of the day by covering during that day. This seems to be the more likely scenario where the writer was set up by people who wanted to make a quick buck undermining the company.
The article included some vicious comments about the company's chairman, Richard Wark, who it is said had an unbeatable track record of bankruptcies and delistings. Is there a broader agenda at work here?
Well, in terms of bankruptcies, I think Donald Trump has Richard Wark beat hands down. And in terms of delistings, Ross Beatty clearly beats Wark. During the last 5 years, 2 Wark companies were delisted as a result of takeover bids approaching $2 billion. Now it's interesting that they use this word delisting in a pejorative sense. When you actually have a major success and you get taken over by a bigger company, your stock gets delisted. So Ross Beatty has 5 delistings to his credit, compared to the Ventana and Augusta that Richard Wark has. So I would say he beats Wark in that department. And Ross accomplished this by, during the dog years after Bre-X, assembling all these marginal copper deposits in South America, which during the China boom in the past decade ended up being bought out by groups that realized that they did not have the copper supply in place that they needed for the future. Now, in terms of a hidden broader agenda, the Richard Wark has attracted considerable opposition from environmental groups, in particular America's anti-mining lobby. The Rosemont deposit, which Hudbay bought for about $500-600 million, is a proposed open pit mine in southern Arizona. And it has faced a lot of opposition from people who just don't want an open pit mine in their Arizona backyard, even though Arizona has a history of open pit mines. They just don't want any new ones. Now, the Arizona mining property hosts a deposit called the Hermosa Central Zone, which is an oxide deposit that has zinc, manganese, and silver in it, on which the company spent about $40 million completing a pre-feasibility study, and this was done during the 2011, during the silver boom, when silver nearly hit $50. And by the time all the metal prices settled out in 2013-14, that project had become worthless. Now, it was an open pit deposit. That would have to have been open pit mine, so it would have had a pretty good footprint. The project is not very far from the town of Patagonia. Patagonia is a very interesting community that's split between 2 primary groups. On the one hand, you have retirees, you have new agers, you have artists, you have stoners, people who don't really have any obvious source of income, nor see any particular need to have a job. And then on the other hand, there is the ordinary, Arizona residents, the people who do want a job. These are the people you might want to call rednecks who like to go out and shoot things rather than watch birds, and who are typically Trump supporters. There's a third group that they, of course, would like the mine because this would provide long-term job security in an area where, the so-called artist community isn't exactly a big source of jobs for the locals who aren't part of that community. The third group that probably wouldn't be keen about a mine in this area are the Mexican drug cartels, who send their mules through this fairly forested area north with their backpacks full of drugs to distribute in the United States. If you build a major underground mine in this area, they're going to have to shift their operations somewhere else to move their goods into the primary market for drugs. So there is an agenda out there to block or harm anything that Richard Wark has to do with in Arizona, and the Hermosa Taylor is such an important, such a major new discovery that one way or another it will become a mine that supplies the United States with the second largest source of zinc.
The technical report indicates that the general area is a habitat for jaguars. Smithsonian Magazine had an article a couple of months ago called "The Return of the Great American Jaguar." Could the Jaguar become a showstopper for Hermosa Taylor?
The article is a very interesting one that's well worth reading. I've got it linked in my Arizona mining write-up from a couple months ago. What this was about is that a young jaguar, which the media called El Jefe, the chief, had wandered north from Mexico, probably driven out because he was a young male, and jaguars are very territorial, and the natural habitat are the mountains in Mexico. So he headed north and was spotted here and there, caught on these night cameras, and also recognized by the scat that he left around. And the anti-mining lobby immediately adopted him. Arizona is jaguar habitat. We have jaguar here. We better not have any mines that might drive the jaguar away. So this became a new basis for, opposing the development of the Rosemont mine. That area itself is not that great for jaguars. Farther south where Hermosa Taylor is, it's pretty good habitat for jaguar. Lots of deer and stuff like that that the jaguars can hunt, and lots of jagged terrain in that where you can easily hide and do your foraging. But what happened about 6-7 months ago is the jaguar disappeared, and it's not clear why. There was a conservationist who had made it his hobby to track this jaguar and wanted to publicize the cause, and had even put out something that sort of disclosed the general location of where the jaguar was hanging out. And this freaked out the Arizona Wildlife Commission, because in Arizona there are a lot of people who like nothing better to do than stalk a jaguar and shoot it. So one theory is that somebody figured out where this jaguar was hanging out and killed it and hid it. Another theory is that this jaguar, which has been around for a couple years, has matured and has returned to Mexico into the natural area where all the females are based and is now reproducing there, and probably unlikely to head back north into Arizona where there are a lot more people and where there are no females, where it's not really a habitat where the jaguar population reproduces. So I think this was a one-time phenomenon. This jaguar is unlikely to return and is not going to be a showstopper for the Hermosa Taylor mine.
Discovery Watch with John Kaiser will be back right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
We're talking with John Kaiser from Kaiser Research. Another one of Discovery Watch's juniors is in Zinc Mining, whose West Desert zinc copper deposit in Utah is somewhat similar to Hermosa Taylor, although zinc prices have risen to a level where its PEA for an underground mine is back in the money. The stock hasn't moved. InZinc has a market value less than $20 million compared to $900 million for Arizona Mining. Utah appears to be much friendlier to mining than Arizona, and have you stated that West Desert has substantial exploration potential? Why is this stock languishing?
Well, that is a question that really perplexes me. I own this stock. I've been recommending it for quite a few years. My readers own this stock. When zinc was down at 80 cents, it was understandable that the stock dropped to 10 cents because the West Desert project was not viable, even with the revised PEA they put out a few years ago. However, iron prices are back to $80 a ton, and they have a form of iron called magnetite, which actually commands an even better price than that. And of course, zinc is now $1.20 or better, where the PEA does work. So even with what they have, this project should now be attracting a bigger valuation, should be attracting financing towards a pre-feasibility study. So it's really kind of strange that it's sitting here. Now, earlier this year, I thought it was also very strange that I was able to recommend Arizona Mining as a bottom fish at 35 cents and as a spec value hunter pick in early March at 46 cents. And they had published all the results. The management had been buying stock, funding ongoing drilling through private placements, and it really made no sense that this did not have a higher profile, because it was clear that a major new discovery was taking shape. And it's the classic problem that Bay Street, until it sees a stock trending higher, ideally with some sort of leader that can guide the sheep onwards, will not touch a junior story. And I think InZinc is in one of these limbo zones where it's largely held by insiders. It has one fund, George Ireland's fund, owns about 9 million shares, and the rest is spread amongst retail shareholders. I think, though, it's just a matter of time. Earlier this year, Kerry Curtis took over as CEO. He has been reviewing the project and coming up with a detailed exploration plan. I talked to him just the other day. I said, why haven't you put this out yet? He says, we're in the final stages of plotting all the drill holes that we would like to do. We will roll this out in January. We will then go to Bay Street, which we visited a couple of months ago. There's a lot of latent interest in there. People understand that not only do you have a zinc mine development story in a jurisdiction that's actually friendly to developing a mine, but we also have enormous exploration potential. The known resource is surrounded by a lot of ground that has never seen a drill hole, and where there has been a drill hole, there have been these tantalizing snippets of very high-grade copper mineralization or molybdenum mineralization. The deposit that has been the focus of past economic studies is clearly peripheral to a major porphyry system. Its goodies are probably going to be deeper than what we have in our sites now, but this kind of play could give a discovery exploration surprise in the manner that Hermosa Taylor did for Arizona Mining. So the project it's on private land. Everything's fully permitted. It is a complete sleeper right now, and it is certainly one that I personally would be buying more of heading into the new year, because I think once we're in the new year, there's been a lot of shareholders who sold Arizona Mining stock earlier this week when the fraud scare was dumped on the market. They may be looking at the comparative valuation. In my view, Arizona Mining is fairly valued right now unless zinc rockets to $2 a pound. This one, it offers relative value and has the potential to go up 5 times and still be comparatively undervalued. So I think people just need to be patient with this one.
Sedillo Resources announced completion of an $8 million financing at 75 cents to fund a bulk sampling program at its BK16 diamond pipe in Botswana. Are we finally on track to see this old so-so discovery turn into a big new discovery?
I have to admit, I was shocked that the CEO, James Brooks, got this $8 million financing done. He's been struggling for the past year to raise $5 million US for a large diameter drill program on this BK16 pipe. This pipe, it's not large. It was discovered in 1970 in the wake of the Orapa discovery. Orapa, of course, is an absolute monster, world-class diamond pipe, jointly owned by De Beers and the Botswana government. The work done earlier on BK16 sort of indicated, very lowish grade, 2 to 3 carats per 100 ton. Yes, it is diamondiferous. The volume wasn't believed to be very big, maybe 3.5 hectares. Various groups had it. It ended up back in the government reserve, and Sedillo put together a proposal in 2015 and was awarded this pipe. Now, what makes this pipe really interesting is that it is potentially a smaller version of the AK6 pipe, now called Caro, which Lucara has developed into a fabulous mine that produces these giant $300 to $400 per carat value diamonds, these Type 2A diamonds. And this was also an example where a smallish body had been sampled and the grade seemed low and the presence of the Type 2 diamonds was not understood, so it was just discarded by De Beers as something, we have Orapa, what do we need this to? And then the juniors came in, Lucara, one of them, realized that the grade was actually 15 to 20 CPHT. The volume was a couple times bigger than initially thought. And that, yes, there were these incredible Type 2 diamonds mixed in with the more general diamond population. So we have the same thing here with BK16. It turns out that much of the sampling work was done in a part of the pipe, which is a multi-phased pipe, which is volumetrically insignificant and has been diluted by country rock, by basalt, so that although nice diamonds were recovered, and some of them have been confirmed as Type 2A diamonds, the grade is not really representative of the bulk of this kimberlite. So they've done delineation drilling to figure out the geometry of the pipe. Now they need to go in there and take large bulk samples out, process these for diamonds. Lucara has come out and participated about $3.4 million in this financing. This is a really big deal because Lucara is building a world-class recovery system, or has built a world-class recovery system for recovering these large diamonds without breaking them. They are the obvious exit strategy. If this program is successful in demonstrating that the grade is 15 to 20 CPHT, that there's maybe 2 to 4 million carats here worth $300, $400 per carat, in other words, $1 billion or so, we would likely see Lucara absorb this project. And as part of the financing deal, they have received a right of first refusal in case Sedillo should wish to sell this deposit or farm it out to somebody else. So I'm quite pleased. I own shares in this company. It's been one of my recommendations for a long time. The company still has in the background the Kaudum Copper Project, which is a potential copper belt type setting in northern Botswana, similar to what's in the DRC, where fantastic deposits like Kamoa, Kakula have been found. There are several groups that are reviewing the $25 million worth of data that both Sedillo and the former partner First Quantum have generated on this project. So this company is finally coming back to life. This $8 million financing did involve 10 million units with a full warrant, so it adds 20 million shares to the 40 million out. But that's still relatively low for a junior. So yes, this is a great development, and we may finally see a success emerge for Sedillo in Botswana.
John, thanks for the update.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. Discovery Watch will be back next week. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.